Horror period pieces are kinda harder to find than you'd imagine, which is crazy because one can only assume that things were way scarier way back when. Like no internet, no rights for all sorts of folks, no hygiene standards for things that absolutely need hygiene standards, and more. I suppose period pieces can be more expensive to make, and expensive horror movies are also kinda rare, so there's that. But in the spirit of giving you guys something a little different, here's the top 5 scary historical movies. Let's get it. Hey guys, in case you didn't know, we are launching a brand new gaming channel very soon. It's called Viper Girl. It's starting up on January 22nd. They're gonna be streaming everything from Minecraft to FNAF to Cyberpunk. So check out this promo and make sure to subscribe so you get that video right away.
Oh my gosh, I almost died. I thought you were a cactus, my friend. I thought you were a cactus. We've got iron, baby. Yes. Okay, my main goal is to blow up and then act like I don't know nobody. Bro, no, I'm gonna fight you with a pork chop. No, come here. This is awesome.
Coming in at number 5, we've got Crimson Peak. Now this is a period piece. This movie is the textbook definition of gorgeous. There's not a single frame in this flick that doesn't look absolutely incredible. It's Guillermo del Toro doing the most and killing it. Like, this movie doesn't even have to be scary. The set design and costumes are enough to keep folks invested from start to end. But of course, it being a GDT flick, Crimson Peak is jam-packed with ghosts, hidden intentions, murder, and a little something else. What that little something is, I'll leave to you to find out. But all of this would be less impressive if it wasn't also couched inside a wonderful rendition of an early 20th century English manor. There are all sorts of lovely era-specific details throughout the first act, but everything gets extra spicy once they enter Allerdale Hall. Crimson Peak, baby. Red clay and blood, there's nothing quite like it. Now there are plenty of ghosts in this movie, but more than anything it's a gothic romance. Even Del Toro says so. This quality adds to the historical intrigue though. Being so set-oriented and polished is an homage to many of the movies GDT grew up watching. It's more along the lines of The Omen and The Shining than a lot of its other contemporaries. Big, polished horror is what you get from Crimson Peak, and it's hard to imagine it being done any other way. Coming in at number 4, we've got Bone Tomahawk. Moving away from polish and highbrow spookiness, let's talk about one of the most brutal and over-the-top movies ever to be set in the Wild West. It's an independent western cannibal horror film starring Kurt Russell, and well, what could be better than that? It's always fun to do a genre mashup, you know? I feel like horror and westerns have their own little niches they fill in the genre landscape, and a lot of folks tend to get obsessed with either one or the other and end up in the infinite expanse of being a full-time genre fan. But it's not so often that the two are put together, so when it happens, it's exciting. Bone Tomahawk is a truly horrific western with all of the hallmarks of both slapped together so hard that they bleed profusely. There's a lot of blood and gore here. I would assume the same to be true about the actual Wild West back in the day, but a lot of the depictions of this are pretty sanitized, which seems a little disingenuous, but I suppose westerns were at their peak popularity before a lot of gnarly stuff was commonplace in movies. I'm getting off topic. The western and horror elements blend together beautifully. Russell is Sheriff Franklin Hunt, and he learns of a tribe of cannibals living out in the desert somewhere. Some people from his small town are abducted by these, to quote the movie, troglodytes, and the sheriff has to round up a posse and see what they can do about it. This, of course, leads to a whole lot of bloody violence. The movie is called Bone Tomahawk, for goodness sake, and there is some gristle in this movie. Legs are mangled, entrails are scooped out like ice cream, and infections run rampant, and that's just what life was like back then, I guess. Opium tinctures and whiskey if you want to deal with a wound. Also, go out and kill everyone that's causing trouble. Times sure have changed, eh? Maybe not. Either way, this is a fascinating genre-blending period piece with enough gore and debauchery to keep anyone entertained, or repulsed. Depends on the kind of person you are, I suppose. Coming in at number 3, we've got The Others. Let's take a trip back to the post-World War II era for a moment. Lots of tragedies around this time, and moving backwards to the turn of the century doesn't improve things all that much. Being alive was tough, although being dead could be even tougher. Spoilers ahead for the next joke I'm gonna make. Or maybe you prefer to have the movie spoiled? Even tougher if you don't know you're dead. Uh-oh. Yeah, so following the deadliest world war to date, a young family ends up dead. Not directly because of the war, but because their father died on the front, causing his wife to give into despair and end the whole family. Now they get to live as ghosts in a big old house full of other ghosts. Tuberculosis took the lives of all the house's staff in the late 19th century, leaving them to endlessly tend to the grounds as well. For most of the movie, however, the viewer doesn't know this. They see a gloomy family awaiting the return of their war-bound father, milling about their remote country house, rarely seeing anyone that doesn't live or work there. The children are sensitive to light, and the mother is prone to fits of hysteria along with seeing things that aren't actually there. Because these events seem to be happening back in the first half of the 20th century, one might assume that they are indeed quite ill with little consequential medical help. Plus, the mother seemingly losing her mind thanks to the absence of her husband seems less out of place. When ghosts start appearing, things get really freaky, but are they ghosts? You probably already know the answer to this one. The whole thing is a reverse ghost story, with these phantoms believing they're still alive, attempting to deal with their unwanted visitors. However, the truth of the matter is that everyone living in the house died there years prior, and any new appearance is a real living human. What a twist, and what a look at post-war living. Coming in at number 2, we've got From Hell. This is a particularly interesting and valuable piece of historical fiction. See, the Hughes brothers, no relation, made a film called From Hell, and it's based on the graphic novel of the same title by Alan Moore and Eddie Campbell. It takes a look at the Jack the Ripper murders and hypothesizes about how they could have happened and who would have been involved. The killer's identity, motives, and more are investigated in depth with the graphic novel, with plenty of very thorough research going on. Educated guesses throughout many academic texts don't get much closer to a possible truth than this graphic novel. It's a fascinating read, rife with historical details and insight. And while the movie doesn't translate everything perfectly from page to screen, it does a damn good job trying. We dive into the lives of 19th century prostitutes in foggy London town. They're in the process of realizing that they're being targeted, tracked down, murdered, and mutilated. Not a fun spot to be. Enter Frederick Aberline, the opium-dependent, psychic vision-prone police investigator. Using his unique viewpoint, he connects the crimes to the Freemasons, a powerful society with plenty of members in positions of influence. Thanks to this observation, Aberline is also put in the line of fire. You know, you can't just go around questioning the folks at top. They're there because they're better than the average person. So as Aberline attempts to bring the Freemason killer to justice, he's worked against by other Freemasons who'd rather not deal with the scandal. All of this culminates in plenty of blood and gore in the seedy London underbelly, and of course, a lobotomy. The insight into the legendary Ripper, as well as a fascinating portrayal of some of the darker aspects of life in late 19th century London, adds a whole lot to the horror and nastiness of this period piece. And finally, at number 1, we've got The Witch, a New England folktale. Seems like New England has a lot of horror associated with it, eh? Must be something in the water, or the trees. Maybe the goats have something to do with it. Either way, The Witch is a hauntingly beautiful tale of an exiled family's descent into madness and witchcraft. It's not often that folks dip into the 17th century for horror movie inspiration, so right out the gate you know The Witch is something special. A poor settler family is exiled from their colony for just being too damn devout. Who knew that was even possible, right? After adhering possibly too strictly to the word of the Lord, they're banished to the wilderness, where they're free to worship in any way they so choose. What starts out as extreme puritanical behavior quickly devolves into obsession and fixation, which of course inspires the youngins to behave badly. And that makes it very easy for the local Wiccans to sink their claws into the family's formative flesh. It's a slow burn, sure, but the attention to detail and the mundane ins and outs of a reclusive family's life in the age of colonies is fascinating to watch play out. It's equal parts beautiful and brutal, with cinematography that manages to paint the wilderness as both freeing and oppressive. The old-timey accents and patterns of speech add to the overall effect too, at times charming, but often difficult to parse, making the viewer feel like an outsider too. And of course, it's scary as hell. The way the witch manages to ooze into the family's life bit by bit builds a constant sense of tension and dread over time. And the payoff, while not as explosive and bloody as some horror movies, is well worth it. You can stop trying to build a time machine. The past is scary enough without having to experience it firsthand. Why not just watch some top-notch scary historical movies instead? It's usually more glamorous and with a much better survival rate for you. So, what'd you think of the list? Do you agree with my picks? What's the scariest period piece you've ever watched? Make sure you let me know down in the comments. Speaking of comments, let's take a look at some of your more icy ones from the top 5 2021 horror movies we can't wait to see. William Grand says, been waiting ever so impatiently for Antlers. All in good time, my friend. We will see some crazy creatures. I just know we will. Mordecai Kane says, Candyman. Yes, you got me hooked with this one. I get it. Very nice. Derptastic says, I legitimately cannot tell if it's the lighting or if Keegan is a ginger. I've been trying to figure it out forever. Yeah, I'm a day walker, you know? Like my facial hair tends to be a little more red than my head top though. So if that, oh yeah, look at my hat head. That's nice. Narcolept says, I'm most looking forward to Waterworld 2. Aren't we all? And the Terror Bear says, I personally don't want theaters to go away. No matter your home setup, you still can't copy the experience of going out with friends and seeing a horror movie on the big screen. I'm with you on that, absolutely. But I'm confident that even if the major theater system as we know it crashes, indie theaters will find a way to get us the goods. And that's all the time we have for today. I am going to bet my soul after a lengthy winning streak at the Devil's Casino. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bone Tomahawk is a truly horrific western with all of the hallmarks of both slapped together so that... Damn it. What is happening, Chris? It's the last day energy. It's flowing out of me. And finally, at number 1, we've got The Witch. Oh, you know what? I watched a movie after I wrote this script that would have been great for this, but I don't have it written. Gosh darn it. Everyone, go watch Hazagusa. It sounds like that. It's wonderful. It's shot in the German Alps. It's beautiful. Mwah. It's about a witch. Mwah. Number 1, The Witch. God damn it. Make sure you let me know down in the description. Make sure you let me know down in the comments.